think you're getting all of that there, gents. You're getting all of that.
I had to take those out just to experience. That was awesome. It wasn't
too bad, actually.
No, it was pretty good.
Okay.
Wow. We're away.
Yeah.
Man, sorry. I've gone on Misty. Hey, guys, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here. Hello. And...
Simon.
Get in!
Hello.
Wow.
I can take this off now, can't I?
You can.
So, first off, Simon Neil from Biffy Clyro. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
Who's come down from Ayrshire to be here.
Yes, I have. I've left the house. Pleased to be here, gents.
Oh, man. Do you want to sit down, Simon, or are you happy?
I will, actually. I will.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm talking to you like this, going, yeah, you know, my downtime's been like in mode.
Okay, I have to risk the 2 meter thing and just adjust your microphone there. That's okay, we're all good.
Yeah.
All right, so massive thanks to Simon and Richard for coming down, all of which will be revealed. We should say something about COVID. We've taken every measurable, possible, sensible step to stay distance from one another. We have been masked up till this point. Everyone in this room is masked up, so the only time we're unmasked is when we're talking. We've got the screen up, all the rest of it. So please don't give us a hard time about that. We're doing our best.
Yeah, either way, just leave us alone.
Yeah. we're all grown-ups and we're doing our best. Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
Yeah.
What a pleasure to be here.
So we'd wanted to do this for a while, and we had this sort of penciled in, and then all this kicked off, and we ploughing ahead regardless, because it's too much of a great opportunity. Not to see you again and just go through what's been happening, the new record, and some other new goodies, which we'll talk about very soon. But yeah, look, let's start with the new album. Like, the dynamic range of this album is unbelievable. Like, it gets super heavy, but the string orchestrations and arrangements and stuff, I mean, it's beautiful. So where did this start? Where was the spark for this album?
Well, as you know, actually, Dan, the last kind of record we worked on was a movie soundtrack called Balance Not Symmetry, and working in that kind of format of not worrying about necessarily singles or explaining every moment of the record. You know, you get so used to kind of trying to explain your music, which can be tough.
Yeah.
And actually making that record was really liberating for me mentally, not worrying about every song being in a particular, like whether it suits us as a 3-piece. And it just reminded me of that kind of feeling when we started, when you're discovering those new sounds that you can make and, you know, learn how to write songs differently and how to have that, like, an intense impact, but in a slightly different way. So that kind of, the freedom of that record definitely blended into Celebration of Endings. And as always, I had like 20 odd songs written, but it made it a lot easier to pick which songs this record needed. And I think there was a conscious decision to try and get a bit more of that chaos in on this album, because the last studio record, Ellipsis, a lot of that was untouched by the band. You know, I wanted the songs to be kind of unexplored, so that when we went into the studio, we were finding all these different sonics. Right. But I think in doing that, I missed the fact, the three of us being in a room, and actually that way when you're looking eye to eye, and those, because it's those ridiculous moments that kind of define our band almost, the really silly ones that almost make you want to burst out laughing, but we're deadly serious about. You know? But I tell you what, I mean, you say new record, we worked on it last year, and obviously what a crazy year this has been for everyone. So I feel really grateful to have had a piece of music made, because there's an awful lot of pressure on people. You know, how creative are you feeling just now? And actually, it's a strange time. So it was really nice to birth something that was kind of unpolluted by this year, but equally feels like it's a record for this year.
It is amazing that. And you mentioned Balance Not Symmetry, so I've just got to. I was in the very fortunate position to come and spend a week with you guys in the studio, sort of helping you out, and it was the most amazing insight into your process. And you know, but I guess first and foremost for me, I'm a fan, you know, and so to have the opportunity to do that was just mind blowing. So you know, I'll try not to let this descend to some sort of sycophantic, you know,
honestly,
mess. However,
you can go wherever you want it to go.
There's all the Americans going, "Oh my God, man, could you be more gushy?"
But there are some moments while in recording Balanced Symmetry. So, I've got 100 stories, but there's this one where we had we had all the amps set up in the control room, and you're after a feedback sound. And what would happen during the day, before Simon would get in the studio, I'd be there with Adam, the producer, and we'd set up some sounds. And Adam would be saying, we need to get this and that. And so I had Simon's guitar and he even had his picks and everything, trying to get as close as I possibly could. Because really, when we first started doing that, I was first set up the sound, and then Simon would come in and it sounded so incredibly different. And we had to rearrange everything. So I was grabbing his picks and looking at where he'd be playing on the bridge and everything. But the story is, Adam says to me, there's going to be some feedback on this section. And I'm like, okay. So I took a guitar into the control room and I just got some feedback. And it was fine. Simon takes the guitar into the control room, and it's honestly, man, it sounded like World War III. And Adam and I are there looking at each other, just going, how is this possible? Because I've had the same guitar and everything, right in the same vicinity. You're talking about those moments, with the band, and you have those moments of sort of uncontrollable stuff. But it is kind of, you see that moments in Biffy, and they are absolutely glorious.
That was the bit. I mean, because doing feedback in a record can be really tough. See, when you're in your front and your amp, it's like you feel it. You can tell when it's coming. You're kind of more in control. Every time in a record, I've always kind of struggled finding feedback, and the only way to do it is to just get in there and literally rip the hell out your guitar. It's like at that point my guitar is almost my enemy. Because it kind of has to be, because you're wanting to create something vicious. Yeah. And so I really appreciate you saying that, because I think I lost a lot of high frequencies, in those sessions, because again, you can't do feedback quite, it's not like you're listening, it's a feel. So it was, I love that. It was like with like six cabs or something.
All set up, and we were sort of switching between them in the studio. It was epic.
But as you say as well, the playing, whoever you're setting guitar up for, everyone plays so different. You pick a dozen guitarists playing the same setup, and it's just never going to sound the same. And the difficulty, I guess, for your job and like an album like that is you have to hone in on kind of how I'm going to play it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which obviously I appreciate from my side, but it's not an easy thing to do, because everyone, even just how you grip your pick,
it makes all the difference in the world. It's amazing. Okay, there's a few things that we're going to do. One of the first things I wanted to talk about as well, you have got a pedal coming out.
Yes.
Which is really super exciting. So, Richard, everyone calls him Churd, but with my Australian accent, Churd, sorry, everyone calls him Churd, but with my Australian accent, it just doesn't work. It sounds really disrespectful. But you hear it with an English or a Scottish accent. It's really, it's endearing. But I just sound, it doesn't work for
you.
me.
Make it sound exotic. That's the thing. We make it sound very,
accent.
Yeah, we make it sound local. We're like Churd. It's like.
I see.
Yes, and like Churd spends his time around a lot of Scotsmen, so it becomes shorter and harder, isn't it? You sound like a bit character in Braveheart or something, like Churd,
Richard has he started a new effects company, and his first offering is a pedal that he's made for you, which is awesome. And you had this in your setup for your recent live gig. Barrowland. And so take us through that process of designing a pedal with Richard.
Well, what would say, it was really tough for me to design this pedal. Me and Churd, we've worked together for 15 years now, Churd, maybe longer. We've always discussed it, and the one thing about this year is everyone knows everything changed, everyone went out the window, and actually. Like most people, we're trying to find positivity out of it and find, exciting new challenges. Churd at the start of lockdown said this is the time to do it. And so you'd worked on a couple of prototypes and things. We knew we wanted it to be a distortion pedal for a start. Our first pedal had to be has to be distortion. So you spent like a couple of months.
Yeah, we did a load of Vera board stuff, just seeing what worked and what really didn't work, you know.
A lot of trial and error, as we've discussed, and as you mentioned, there's no easy way to go about this. You know, it's like it takes time. You need to try everything out. You know, every guitar, every amp setup. So there's so many hoops to jump through to get to this point. As the summer's gone on, you know, we've been apart all summer, but every few weeks I've spoken to Churd, he's sent something or brought a pedal up, and it's just elevated, and it just felt at the perfect time, because we had time to do it.
Sure.
You know, Churd's had time to focus. Normally we're on the road 10 months a year, and it's not an option to kind of spend time in this kind of stuff. But it feels right. Then it feels right to finally have one. And Biffy fans would know, I'm a slave to like the Metal Zone, the Boss Metal Zone pedal. Which we will get to. It's still part of my setup. So that's a tough pedal to compete with. And so Churd had a very high bar, you know. But, you know, by the time it came round to launch the album and everything, I think you're in it's like fourth version or something. So it wasn't quite there, but it was so good that I had to use it at the Barrowland show. There's like real tone and a sound and a growl on this pedal that I didn't actually have in my setup.
Wow.
And again, it's really tough, you know, as any kind of heavy rock guitarist, you know, your distortion, your drive, it's your kind of your bread and butter.
Absolutely.
You know. But there's so many different nuances and subtleties to what you want to achieve. And I guess making more records, it's made me realise how the different colours and dynamics and timbres of the distortions, how important they are. You know, I used to think it was, you know, on or off to a certain extent. You know, I mean, my old guitars, I used to take all the knobs off and everything. I used to have it in one setting, you know, and I would have my Metal Zone and that was it.
Wow.
And it obviously, you know, we've tried to kind of caress it over the years, but this pedal is phenomenal. It's the first thing I said to Churd was, this has to be the loudest pedal that anyone's ever heard. So
because that's what you need, isn't it, Simon? More volume.
More volume, exactly. You know it. So yeah, that was like our, you know, we had a laugh at that. We wanted it to be quite an extreme pedal. We wanted it to be fun for people to play with. But I mean, I've had a great time working on it, you know, playing through and kind of giving Churd a little bit of feedback over the summer. But honestly, the technique and the science, the engineering, I don't know where to begin. You know, you guys know all about that.
I think we should do a bit to camera with Churd after this. Then we can ask you some specific questions about it, if that's all right.
Yeah,
so then we can make sure the mic's on you and everything, and we can all be correctly distanced as we're supposed to be. Can we hear it, Simon?
Yes, we can. Right. I'm going to get my head.
Yeah.
I need my earplugs.
It's interesting. Regular viewers of TPS will note what the dB meter is doing today, and some of the numbers you see won't be that surprising. The in-room experience is telling a different story. The bass coupling off these cabs is such a magical thing.
It's there. It flaps those trousers.
Oh man, it's awesome. It reminds me why I get up in the morning. Is the truth of the matter.
That's the boom.
That's the boom.
That's the boom. So I've got it set up through my thing. We can go through the details of the tones and everything there. But I have it through my gig rig, and that's the boom. That's my kind of distortion drive. There's really a lot of nuance to that one. So you know, you can kind of pull it. We can pull it back if need be. And then this is my blast. And then both together. It's loud. It's loud. Lots of scope there. You know, it's, as I say, it's one louder than my big. You know, I have clean, medium, big, and then I've got Booooom Blast on top of that. So that's where I want the building to feel like it's falling down. But there's lot, you know, you can take it lots of, I've got it maxed out at the moment, but it's just so exciting to, you know, to.
The really interesting thing about that, it's really hard to make pedals work with really loud amplifiers.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you've got amplifiers, you've got loads of headroom and everything, it's really easy because they've got room to maneuver. But for that pedal to sound like that with these amps so loud, that's extraordinary. That's awesome, man.
It's a really unique thing, isn't it? Because normally with a lot of gain pedals, especially when you're not playing very loud, it can just mush.
It just folds into the sound. That's great.
This does always, it feels like it's flying, like the roof is off the whole time. And actually, even on lower volumes, it's really delicate as well. You know, it does work at a lower volume, although it's meant to be as loud as possible. But
that's extraordinary. Okay, can I order the first one, please? That's unreal.
Be interested to see what we make of it through, not at 200 watts.
Yeah, I know. I'm really curious, and even just different. You know, obviously, I'm a Strat man, and everything. You guys have got everything at your disposal in here. So you know, we spent a lot of time kind of figuring that all out. But I'm really curious to hear you guys play.
Well, Richard did bring down a prototype, in February, I think this year, and it was extraordinary. Then, you know, it was really onto something. There's something about a really good sounding fuzz is a very organic thing, you know, and both sides of this have that. It's a very, it worked. So I had the matchless there and I had the hamster there. We tried it into a bunch of different things. That was great. But hearing it at volume is just another thing as well.
Yeah, it's a different
fantastic
beast. Yeah, I mean, you can get full square wave in the fuzz and everything as well. You know, I'm a big fan of that. You know, not a lot of the Biffy a lot of Biffy songs are really dynamic and it needs that Strat sound of the attack.
Yeah.
But see, when you can just put that fuzz on and it just everything's just like, you know, I love it. I feel like I've discovered a new sound. You know, I'm discovering fuzz. Finally, it's there. You know,
I tell you what's amazing. Even though Simon is not stood on stage in front of thousands of people in a massive venue, when you were describing that and you were like, you know, when you step on it, that was the face I've seen in 1,000 pictures. It was literally that. You're gonna get it now.
Can you tell I'm itching to get back on stage? This is as close as I feel like I want to play a show for you guys today.
Guitar tech extraordinaire turned pedal designer, and I think so. Like I said, I've known Richard for years and years, and when we were putting Someone's Rig together, and you floated this idea a long time ago, but now it's actually finally come together. Mm-hmm. So this is, you've got the Booooom Blast, you've got distortion on one side and fuzz on the other.
Yeah.
Just tell me a little bit about those circuits and how they work.
On the boom side, which is the overdrive circuit, it's straight into a little op amp, and then we're using 2 FETs back to back with a germanium diode in asymmetrical soft clipping.
Nice. Okay.
So it keeps it transparent.
Yep.
So you still, even if it's just on its own, just through the one amplifier, you still hear the notes coming through, whereas it really distorts and gives you the bottom end. You almost get a false frequency at the bottom end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. And that,
which obviously
absolutely.
Yeah.
And the fuzz.
And the fuzz is a classic fuzz circuit. There's not much you can do with them. But when we had it on the breadboard with Simon, it was I was showing him how the various bits work.
Sure.
And he was literally ripping resistors off going, oh, but that makes it twice as loud.
Right.
So
now
really
it's 3 times volume.
as loud. You know?
That's really interesting because a lot of fuzz faces, they do struggle for output.
Yeah.
Okay.
The amplification on it's just off the chart.
Unreal. And you can separate each side, right?
Yes.
Okay.
There's 4 jack sockets on it. We designed it around the gig rig, or other pedal selectors are available. We designed it so that you can then swap them around how you want to, put them in the patch, and with the G3, obviously you could go in parallel if you wanted to. That's
going to be a fun day.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really fun day.
Or if you've just got pedals on a board, you go in one side, come out the other.
Yeah, right.
And
swap them that way.
Off it goes.
Yeah, brilliant. dealing with artists the way you do. Obviously, Simon is your main artist that you deal with, but you've crewed for loads of different guys.
Yeah.
If you're approaching designing a pedal for an artist, in particular, how do you start that? What's the process?
Start off with just like go into the room with them and what do you already use? Where can we go from there? Because all artists use things in different ways, and they've all got their own idea of how they set things up. And what do you like? And then ask them what they're missing from a sound. Maybe they want more clarity or more rumble or so on and so forth. And you're like, how can you achieve that with what's already on the market? Because obviously there's tons of stuff available.
Yeah, there really is.
And
People do
like,
shows about them and everything. It's crazy.
If you end up stacking 3 or 4 together, you thought, how can we get that into one box?
Right, okay.
And just make that one sound. Because with Simon, he wants to just be able to press the pedal and bang, there it is. It's on, it's loud, and it's amazing. And we want less knobs because that's the sound. That's the sound you're buying, You don't want that much control over it and like tons of switches and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Because already you've lost him.
Sure.
You've lost the excitement. It's like, bang, does it work? Yes, and we're away.
Because he's so instinctive with that. Like I remember being in the studio with him and we have a bunch of pedals. He'd plug in and go, nope, out.
Yeah.
Nope. He'd know in a second if it was in there.
Yeah.
He'd plug in something and go, oh, okay. He'd fiddle with it for a bit. But he literally, within a second of plugging in, he'd know if a sound was in there or not that he'd like.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and as far as the rig is concerned, we've got, obviously, the things we talked about before. We've got the Fender, which is on all the time.
Yes.
Right, and then the big trees from Audio Kitchen. And this is a new addition for you guys.
It is, yeah. And that's runs our medium sound with the Fender still being there.
Right.
And then obviously we've discussed the Metal Zone and the Marshall.
Yeah.
Which comes on top of that.
The Fender and the medium are still on and the Marshall and Metal Zone come on.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
So the Audio Kitchen doesn't get any colour. It just keeps all those mid-range right down the centre.
Right.
So you're hearing the clarity of the Fender and that attack there. Then you get the mid-range all there, and then top and bottom of the Metal Zone and Marshall. And that's the full chorus. There you go. We've got every frequency covered.
Really cool. So it's called the Boom with 5 O's.
The Booooom Blast.
The Booooom Blast.
Booooom Blast.
And you're going to hand paint every one, right?
Yes, absolutely. So Churd's hand building every single one.
Yeah.
Got, nice handwritten note, and I'm going to paint this top and sign. In fact, we'll get a look at the actual box later, painting. I'm going to sign every one. It's, we want to. It's not just about making thousands. We want to make something that really felt like it was coming from us personally. Obviously, Churd's put all the blood, sweat, and tears in, but it's a part of our personality and our character as a band. Churd has been with us for so long, so it's an artistic statement. This, we've waited a long time. We didn't want to half-ass it when we did do a pedal, so we've really kind of tipped things over the edge.
I guess when we're looking at the climate that we're in, and how that's affected a lot of the road crew and stuff. So, the fact that this is something that your tech is able to do while you guys have had to put everything on hold is an awesome way to be able to support the members of your crew.
It's been talked about a lot recently because of the government doing a wonderful job at making us all feel very highly valued.
Yeah, Simon could be in cyber.
Yeah, no. Oh, I know. Imagine, that's a dangerous thought. But it's been such a tough year for everyone that's used to traveling, playing, going all around the world, and we've tried to help our crew when we can. Everything's stopped for everyone.
Yeah.
Churd's had a lot of get up and go this year. I mean, we've done a few kind of gigs and kind of things, some online stuff, but it doesn't compete with the normal touring regime. So it's, we were discussing it earlier, there's a couple of pedal companies here saying,
so Hampstead are doing this with a pedal called the Ascent, which is a boost pedal, which they're having assembled by techs who are got, nothing to do at the moment. So it's a really great thing to be able to do.
And it's such a, because the thing is, that's what actually the people that make the shows happen probably sacrifice even more. Do even more and sacrifice even more than goofs like me who get to jump up on stage and jump around, and it's just when you see that all coming to a halt. So I mean you've spoken to all the boys, we're all still in touch and everything. It's just I don't know. I've got so much positivity that when the new year starts, we'll figure out some way to make the touring happen. If the shows might have to be different than what we're used to, but you know what, people can't. We need to do this. Like I have a necessity to do this. I know Churd has a need to do this. You know, to be able to have the time to focus on this pedal is wonderful because you're getting to be creative and everything, and you're still and you're putting a part of yourself in it. Yeah. But it's
given you a new colour and voice to work with as well, which is epic.
Well, even as you say, you know, all summer I've been playing this, I've been writing new riffs on this thing, you know, so it's feeding back into me, but it's just such a tough time for everyone, and you know, we just got to persevere where we can, and hold on, and just get back at it as soon as we can.
Well, I want to briefly just talk about the Barrowland gig, because this is I've got friends and bands and musicians who are doing online gigs at the moment. And it's been so interesting that the technology now exists to be able to do that. Now, your Barrowland gigs, I mean, it was epic. You know, the production value and everything was just stunning. Putting that together, how was that different from, you know, your normal stadium gig, which has, you know, incredible production as well. Yeah. But doing the online thing, you know,
it's a different beat. And the first thing that kind of liberated me was the thought of not having to face the same way or face a crowd. Okay. As soon as I kind of shook that out my mind of, well, there's no crowd there, so why do we need to face one way?
Right.
That kind of started my creative juices flowing, and I thought about the band moving around the venue and maximising the whole venue. Now, we're lucky that we were able to put a budget together for that, you know, because it's not financially viable really at the moment for bands to really go the full hog. But I just viewed it as a different creative outlet, and it was trying to create the intimacy and the intensity of a show, but not trying to replicate it without a crowd there. You know, even when I watch my favourite concert films or something, after maybe 5 or 6 songs, when there is like 200,000 people there, after 5 or 6 songs, I maybe start skipping songs, you know, and I'm like, oh, you know, that maybe is exposing me as an impatient fella. But, you know, like I'm like, oh, I'll skip to my favourite. So even the best live shows of all time, when you're watching them on a screen, after half an hour, it can feel that you've maybe, you know, exhausted the kind of the goodwill toward. For this, I wanted people to be guessing every time we started a song to feel that they didn't know what was coming. Yeah, right. It took almost actually about 6 weeks to kind of put it all together for the concepts to come together. But every idea we had ended up working in some way. But I've really enjoyed the slightly different challenges, doing the online acoustic sessions and things, and feeling that connection with people that, ironically, when we tour all the time, I probably feel less connected to our fans than I have done this year.
Wow.
So, you know, even, you know, because you're a bit more, you're just kind of more at a distance. I think when you're on, your mind inhabits a different space when you're on stage as well, when you're on the road. And I think I feel just like more like myself. You know, your kind of defences are down when you're transmitting from home.
Yeah, sure.
So it's been something that's actually I've found really encouraging, and it's kind of made me feel good when I've felt down, and I do feel that connection is even more intimate than it has been before.
Amazing.
You know? But I mean, so many bands, there's so many avenues you could go down with the live streaming thing, and the great thing is after the shock of the first few months of everyone like, how do we do it? People are now starting to think outside the box and do different things, because it's artistically valid thing to do.
It totally is.
But you just need to shift it ever so slightly from what you would expect if you turned up at a venue.
See, I can see this becoming part of the modern way of touring.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, because before lockdown, I wouldn't have really bothered to click on something like that. You know what I mean? So I'm going to see all these bands and stuff. It's like, it was never really appealing. But now, because we're so desperate to see live music, and the funny thing is, like, we got a guitar player friend of ours called Andy Timmons, and he does this thing every weekend, right? And I'm watching it, and because it's live, it feels so different than sat there watching a video.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And your fans are interacting as well, and you know, and it's an incredible thing. And I can see this becoming part of, you know, maybe the last night of your big tour, having part of that, you know, the online thing as well as the gig, you know.
Absolutely.
I don't really think, I I think it's here to stay now.
Yeah, it won't
some
disappear.
extent.
I think you're absolutely right. And now it's reared its head. It's like you can't put it back in the box. And I think it will become an integral part and a necessary part of touring.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, even in our Barrowland show, we used like a Sennheiser kind of head microphone, like a 360 microphone, and we would never have tried to use that in anything other than a stream. But now I'm sitting thinking, well, maybe if we did an arena show, you ask people to bring their own headphones. You Bluetooth in, so suddenly you can have the most intimate. You could have a really intimate song or moment during a show in a massive venue where you ask people to close their eyes or whatever, and you're literally singing in their left ear or something. And you know, so something like that would never have occurred to me if we hadn't been forced to do it. So you're absolutely right. It's not going away, and I think we've all, as viewers and as fans, we've now overcome that kind of feeling of, oh yeah, it is worth watching. Because I was the same as you before. I'd be like, well, I'll wait and see it in the flesh, or I certainly wouldn't have paid money to see, you know. But this year it's like I see the value in that now, and also to make artists and bands and things be able to make their statements in an artistic way as well. It's like takes a bit of faith from the fans, and this year more than ever, you know, I think, you know, with just people realizing how little musicians and that make, and unless you're at that really high level, and it's you know, so I think people appreciate that as a fans of bands, we have a responsibility, if you like a band, to give them the tools and the you know, to make something great. You know, we can't just sit back and go like that, go impress me, you know, like those kind of, at this moment we need to do things together.
Unreal.
I think it'll push the live shows as well, because
Yeah.
there's all those hundreds of thousands of people who can't or won't make it to a live show, but they see you on the web doing something intimate, and it's like, oh wow, I'd really like to see them.
Yeah, you're right. It does change that connection, doesn't it? It really does. I mean, you guys know all about it. I mean, people all over the world will feel that they know your guys' instep. You know, how long your inside leg is, you know. And you haven't told them, goddamn.
Okay, let's talk about your rig, because it's changed since we last saw you. Apart from the addition of the Booooom Blast, it's gone through some changes. First thing I noticed is there are no Kempers anymore.
Yeah.
And we're back to having amps through cabs, loud, on stage. It's all happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was getting a little bit complex, you know. When I started my guitars, it was just adding things, you know, and so we've been adding things over the years. I mean, Churd, we reached a point where it was like I was looking at my setup thinking I need about 4 people to help me set this up, and that, you know, and at that point you're like, wait a minute, what's the tail's wagging the dog here?
Yeah, right.
So we discussed it, and I really wanted to whip it back down, keep it a lot more simple. So we still get the Marshall, the SJP 59 reissue. Actually, I used to have the OG one, but from one of my old guitar techs, and he gave me a call. He's like, you've had that amplifier for about 8 years. Can I have it back? Or you can buy it for £1 million if you want. I was like, I'll just get a reissue, man. So got that. We moved in. We're using an audio kitchen.
Yes, the big trees.
Yes, the big
it's
trees.
Just unreal. Which
is really fantastic. That's for my middle sound. So to discuss it, we've got the Fender Supersonic does the clean.
Yep.
Then I've got my audio kitchen builds on top of that, and that's my medium sound, so a bit of the clean with a bit of drive in the audio kitchen. And then my house falling down sound, I then bring the Marshall in at the tail end of that. So it's kind of like how I started, which was one amp layered with another. Mm-hmm. And I just found with the Kemper, they're fantastic.
They are very clever.
Yeah, absolutely, clever. The more we were playing with it live, the more we realised we were kind of pulling it out the mix.
Right.
You know, and suddenly you've got something in your rig and you're like, well, if no one's really hearing that, or that's not a focus, then is it really just making things too complex? So we had to be brutal. The same way we're writing a song or whatever, making pedals and things, you got to be brutal and say, is this actually having much impact? So stripped it back down. Churd did a wonderful mascara job.
Man, it's so good.
Mascara, it was like he slashed it with a big blue knife. And but yeah, so unfortunately, I still haven't had it in a stage.
Wow.
Right. So we played at the Barrowlands and we had a few days rehearsal for that. So it was really nice to hear it in situ without actually worrying about the crowd and just the dynamic of your mind going crazy during a show. But I'm really desperate to get on a stage and actually feel it. So this is almost as close to me feeling it as I have, because when we did it at the Barrowlands, it was all mic'd up properly. It was like we almost recorded that like a record. There was everyone was deadly silent, wanted the vocals to just be crisp. So I still have, that's as close today as I've heard it kicking my balls.
Unreal.
And we've even got the plexi attenuated down by 70%, and it's still hella loud. It's great. As regular viewers will know, Dan and I love a bit of volume, and it is it's a visceral experience, isn't it? Especially with you playing, because it's such a key part of the way you play guitar.
Oh, it is. It becomes a physical thing. See, when I'm playing live, it's like I can't half arse it, for want of a better word, because it should take over your whole body. And those shows that feel perfect, the ones that drift away in almost an instant, you kind of get wrapped up in everything, and there's not necessarily one detail that you remember, but see if I ever step on a stage and I can't feel my amplifiers, I struggle, and that's when my brain wanders.
Wow.
And so when I first went on in-ears, probably 5 years ago now, like I resisted for ages because I needed to hear it, feel it. I needed to feel my brain shake. Now I've got it where physically I feel it. I feel my body shake, but I'm a bit better in my vocals now. I can hear my vocals through here. But if it's not a physical thing, then I don't feel like it's happening.
Right.
And as a band, we're quite a physical band when we play.
Sure, absolutely.
The way I sing some of the heavier songs, it's like it's a full body. I've not quite mastered the art of, some people can sit and go, wow, and scream while having a sip of tea. I can't, I'm full body, you spasm, like, let's go. So there's kind of no middle ground with a Biffy show, that's why I guess even our songs are the different extremities, some are really fragile and quiet, and then the rest are just like, oh, let's go. So
I think I've caught, since about 2013 or 14, I think I've caught every tour that you've done. Okay. And I've traveled to Barcelona to see you guys, and it is that thing where you go to a Biffy gig and you are guaranteed a physical experience, and we talk about it all the time, where gigs are getting quieter and quieter for most musicians. And, Mick and I feel very, privileged that we can sit in here and actually turn the amps up to where they're working, and you feel connected. And, it's that funny thing, certainly happens to me, if I'm not connected to, sonically to this, I really struggle to play. I struggle to say anything meaningful.
Yes.
But when you feel connected, when there's that physical the experience, then it allows things to come out that wouldn't normally.
Yes, so true. Well, it seems to it kind of switches the responsible part of your brain off to a certain extent, and kind of lets the freak flag fly. But as you say, when it is too under control, it can, I don't know, you kind of saunter along with it more, and I think there's that sense.
The play button in there, just going through the motions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it blows me away that younger folk these days are picking up guitars, or maybe are just playing their guitars in their bedroom, and maybe have never experienced that kind of like standing in front of, the physicality of it. But you're so right, you play differently, you understand the sounds differently. I mean, there's songs I've played 1,000 times, and if I play it when it's not too loud, or if I'm going in to do a session somewhere and I'm hearing it at a certain volume, and I'll be like, oh, it doesn't even sound like I'm playing it. It can sound like someone else, and you're so used to hearing them in this zone. But all the music should make you feel. That's what all the best music needs, to make you react in some way, and it should be. I like the thought of people coming to a Biffy show and having almost involuntary reaction, whether it's us giving an intense performance, whether it's the volume making people go, oh, and that's what it's about. I want people to change in some small way after a Biffy show, like even if they leave going, that was rotten, I'd rather they thought it was the worst thing they'd ever seen, and it was so loud, it was ignorant or whatever, than kind of leaving and go, oh, that was pleasant. No one ever achieved anything being pleasant, Although we are three pleasant gentlemen, I would say.
Indeed.
So maybe that's just until you step on Booooom Blast, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Simon, can we hear the clean, the medium, and
of course,
and the big?
So yeah, nice fat. Again, my previous kind of clean sound was a bit too razor thin.
Right.
So I really wanted to get a little bit more bottom end, and that's because on stage my clean sound was kind of almost disappearing a little. When the heavy came in, it was filling this massive... Sorry. I wanted to get a little bit more beef and body to the clean sound, just because it was sometimes just drifting a little bit away, because we have now Mike Venner who plays guitar with us live, and we have Gambler who plays keyboards. What worked for a 3-piece on stage, we've needed to tweak, and it's taken me a little while just to find exactly where that sits. I'll just go through clean, medium to big, and then you can hear the step up. Yeah, so it's so important to me. The big, everything kind of comes from the big sound. So basically I find where that sits best, you know, volume, we can kind of take it up and down accordingly, but that's the key sound. And then I kind of build my medium backwards from that.
Right.
You know, so say for example, I would, you know, for the start of that golden rule, and again, it's just, I always remember watching, I saw Queens of the Stone Age back in like the 90s, I'm sure, mate. And I remember watching Josh, it was a tiny venue in Glasgow, and it was the layers of the distortion, because at that point, I really loved the jump from just clean and quiet to so there was only 2 dynamics to our band initially. And I remember watching Josh Homme playing, just the way he would layer his kind of fuzzes and distortions, and some songs wouldn't go to the big sound. And then suddenly I was like, all right, it's not all or nothing all the time.
Sure.
So, I mean, that was a long time ago, but I just like these different layers now. I think, as I say, as a 5-piece, I can afford to have a little bit more nuance. And the early records, a lot of it was about the, you know, especially in small venues, you go just from really whisper quiet to like all on, you know, and I still love that. But
that must have frightened the crap out of people. Can you imagine that with this in a tiny venue?
Oh, I know.
Someone's just front going, "Who are these guys?" Whoa!
There used to be there was a song we used to start with called "Hope for an Angel," and we took great pride in playing it as quietly as we could until it kicked in. So it would be like. I mean, it sounds loud down here, but then you just go. So, you know, and again, it's just trying to, it's kind of toying. It's all, that's what I want when I go and see a band. I want to see someone that's like, what are these guys doing? Guys or girls doing? What are they, you know? And always thought our best form of attack as a 3-piece was like, let's get right in their face, you know, like almost saunter on, nonchalant, kind of like, oh, we're a bit shy. No, we're not.
That is Biffy though, isn't it? Like first song on the latest record, North of No South.
Yeah.
It could only be you guys. When that riff kicks in, it could only be you.
Oh, thank you.
And also that Strat sound.
Yeah.
And we've got to talk about that, because the how you get, I think a part of that dynamic, you can get so heavy, but because you're playing a Strat on the bridge pickup, it's still dynamic. You're still hearing the attack. Nothing's getting lost.
Yes, and that's a key part of the sound. You know, people have always said, you know, how are you getting that noise out your Strat?
Yeah, man.
Now, each sound probably wouldn't work with other guitar. You know, that way, like, the big sound gives us such oomph, and it sounds like a tower of power. Now, without the dynamic of a Strat, you know, like a lot of my chords, not every chord, but, you know, it's a lot kind of just like strange kind of overhanging notes up here. If I just have the drive and without the clean kind of sitting on top of it, it just loses, those details get lost. The Strat suits me perfect because it always has the punch and the percussion that the way I write songs that I feel like it needs, but also, so I never lose the Strat sound even when I have that big, thick, molten riffage happening underneath there. So again, anyone that's a Strat player out there, with my setup, as I say, it's like the clean sound retains across everything so that we never lose that clarity. Because I even remember as a teenage gig goer, there'd be bands I would like, and they would only have their one guitarist, but in their record they maybe had other sounds, and I would always be disappointed when it would be this kind of crystal clear kind of, and you're hearing all the nuances, and then it would kind of sometimes dissipate. You know, maybe it was terrible front house sound, man. I don't know, sure. But there is. So for me, it needs the detail. That right hand, I've got a heavy right hand. You know, and it's kind of part. It's ended up part of the sound. You know, but on this record, on North and No South in particular, actually, with the producer Rich Costy, we ended up recording that guitar with one microphone and one amplifier.
No way.
Honestly, we tracked it.
Yeah.
But Rich is such a kind of oddball in the best possible way that he was convinced, and he was right, that the most focused type of sound for that song in particular needed to just be one source. So like we spent a day moving the one mic and trying all the different amps to see what was going to work, and he ended up nailing it. And that's the antithesis of what I've learned.
Sure.
For me, it's like, well, you know, I understand if you start getting into 7 or 8 cabs, it can start become messy, but 3's my basic. So when he was saying like, well, let's take it down to 1, I'm like, are you sure? He proved me wrong.
Right.
And actually on the records, quite often I take a bit of my drive back in the distortion because it's hard to translate through a microphone, through a desk, that kind of level of saturation, I guess, or weight that you want live. So recording is definitely a different beast, you know, looking for more nuance.
We're going to, in a minute, we're going to look at the metal zone and how it actually works in your rig. Mm-hmm. I just want to ask you a couple of quick things about songwriting, because we've been talking about the live experience and the shows. One of the things that is unforgettable about going to a Biffy gig is being in the crowd when they're all singing along to your songs. It's otherworldly. So when you've written a song like God and Satan or
come on, say Many of Horror.
Okay, all right.
It's all right to say.
So when it's all right to say. All right. So when you
name a B-side, man. Come on.
When you've written a song like Many in Horror, do you go, yeah, that I've nailed that. That's going to be epic. Do you know that it's going to be?
I don't think I do.
Really?
I think I protect myself from that by I do fits and starts of writing. So like, I will never analyze my ideas too much. So I write normally 10 or 15 songs in a period of time.
Right.
I don't try and kind of pick my favourite at that point.
Okay. It's
only then once I take the songs to the boys and we record them. So I only use my ears to decide whether I think a song's really good or not. Okay. Never necessarily when I'm playing it, because I've made the opposite mistake sometimes and played something and thought, this is special. Yeah. You know, and then you maybe record it, you play it, and it's like, it's not what I thought.
Yeah,
so I don't allow myself the other way to think this. You know, I've learned the hard way that if you think something's a winner, quite often it's not.
Right.
So it's just having faith in the concept and the idea, and then when you're playing it in the room, or as I say, you record it back. That's when I judge it. I try and judge it as a listener rather than as a songwriter, because
that's amazing.
You know, and that's where I kind of judge my work as coming, and that's where I have to like separate those parts of my mind. You know,
that's hard. A lot of people can't. Can't do that.
Absolutely,
it is hard. I mean, the more albums we make and the more songs I write, I do find it tougher and tougher. And that's, as I say, that's the one part of my work where it is a job where I have to like wait, be patient. If I'm ever aware that I'm writing a song, it ends up sucking. You know, like it needs to just be kind of the way when I started. You know, like just almost that kind of not paying attention, and suddenly, and then you're like, oh, what was that chord, or what was that change I just did?
Yeah. And
it can lead you down a path. But no, I wish I did know. Dan.
It's just being in the crowd and those anthemic tunes and it's like, you know, so I've dabbled in songwriting, and you often think, what must it be like to be in the room when that is being written? You know,
it's never quite as magic as the end, as
Right,
that end
okay.
moment. You know, that it's people's feelings towards a song, people's connection to a song that gives it the magic.
Sure.
You know,
Wow,
every song
okay.
just, you know, I mean, otherwise it is just. It's just a bunch of notes. You know, I mean, it's
yeah,
people's
I get it.
story and connection to it. So to me, the songs, they start living their real life once they're shared. You know, because that
Sure.
kind of almost tells me what the song is, and
Sure.
all I can do is kind of trust what I dig and what I want to kind of sing about. And I try and not analyze too much until it's the week before the album's coming out, and I'm like, oh, I hope people like, you know. Don't get me wrong, there is a moment of like, oh, I hope this is good, you know, like,
Sure, of
you know,
course,
it's not just sitting here going. It's not the full cliche of if people like it, they like it. You know, I want people to like it, you know, but I can't have that in my mind when I'm writing the songs, you know. And I guess because I've always loved pop music and big rock songs and everything, there's always going to be that element of melody in my songs.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Totally.
choruses, keeping choruses alive. in your
Absolutely.
Yeah.
on behalf
I
of
know we don't always. Here's a chorus now. Isn't there's no there's no lyrics in a chorus anymore. I mean, it's remarkable, and there's a place for everything, but it's remarkable. The top 10, there's not one actual chorus.
Okay, we've got a bunch of young teenage boys screaming at the screen, "Metal Zone!"
and some people who used to be teenage boys.
I was wondering where you're going to go with that. Okay, so we've got the Metal Zone out in front. Hopefully, I think we should all be able to see it. Now,
Still with the Anderton £75 sticker on, I want you to know.
yeah.
When did a Metal Zone cost 75 quid? That's what I want to know.
Well, we bought the second hand from it. So this is a stock standard Metal Zone, and you prefer the stock ones, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I've tried the other ones. I don't know whether I'm just so used to that sound,
Okay.
you know.
And when you were setting it up before, you were saying every millimeter on this thing counts, right? So to get the Biffy sound, how are we setting up our Metal Zone?
Well, it's literally, I mean, take a picture. So, as you can hear, a slightly in tune guitar. There's a reason I'm not a guitar tech. Now, this pedal, so everything, I mean, your level, that's a bit more, you know, you can kind of take that wherever you want it to be, but I kind of find that if it's not at the 3/4, it doesn't have that step up that I require.
Okay.
So everything about these high and low tone, the middle and the mid frequency, if I move these an inch or a millimeter, an inch, like even a hemi millimeter, then it's going to change everything. So that you're right with your ears there, James?
Yeah.
So straight away, that middle frequency, to me, it's just taking it away. It loses. It now starts to sound as though it's coming through a tunnel or something in my ears. Now this kind of 11 o'clock, I guess, 11:15. This is. I've spent about a decade making sure that no one touches this pedal. Churd is now on the mission with me. But yeah, it's as simple as that. I mean, that's where I've found it. Little tweaks all the time. Now, it doesn't really change. It's not even changed when I've changed my rig. Whatever amplifier I put this setting through, that's always where I am.
Okay.
And when we were checking when we were getting our new setup for this year, there was a part of me that was like, maybe I'll try without the Metal Zone and see where we end up. Now, every 5 minutes I'd be like, what's that? And she'd be like, that's the Metal Zone back in. And it's the kind of saturation of everything as well as the clarity of the supersonic, of that the punch of the Stratocaster.
Yes.
That's quite an important part. You know, I'm not sure if like a Les Paul or someone would react quite the same way.
We're going to find out. We're going to find out in a minute.
If anyone can make it react the same way, it'll be you guys.
Well, because what we want to do, so the other part of this picture though, that was the Metal Zone going into the Marshall, but the way you run it, you still have the Fender on underneath it clean.
Yes.
Okay, so Churd, can we hear that now? Go back to the normal big sound.
Yep, that's back on.
That's
Great,
on. Back
thank
on.
you.
So
Yep. So again, it's about having the clarity. You know, Metal Zone has the sound. We all know that it has its sound. It's, you know, it is saturated. I love it. We all love it. If you don't love it, what the f***'s wrong with you, man? But yeah, without that, again, maybe, you know, if you're playing slab chords and it's a lot of bottom 3 strings, then you potentially don't need the clean quite as much. But for me, I do. So I'm just going to go straight to the big sound here. And again, it's about letting those kind of more unusual chords. So without that clean sitting on top, a lot of those highs, you know, just get swallowed up.
That is amazing.
It's so, being sat here and being able to experience it kind of this close, you really get the clean being in there to keep that definition.
Yeah, it needs it.
Yeah,
In a room like this, once it's a bit more subtle when we're all playing together, but you do hear, and it's integral to it, just to get those, so that nothing's too swampy, nothing's just getting washed over.
We talk a lot about headroom and clarity and that, and you've got that mix of all that compression and fizz and aggression, but there's clarity that sort of underpins everything. Amazing.
But that is a brave guitar sound, isn't it?
Oh, man.
There's no like delicate wallflower approach to that. You've got to do what you do, otherwise it just wouldn't work, would it?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of full committal to this size, you know. And
there it was, the face, I saw it.
Yeah, no. Oh, I'm champing at the bit. Would you want to try Black Chandelier as well?
Yeah, I do.
Cool.
This, I'm going to edit all this out, and this is just for me.
Yeah, so this song starts. And this one, it's really, I mean, all the root notes, like it's the same every time. But it's just those flying notes. And again, that's what made me realise this was a song and going to be a song, you know, was. Each chord makes you feel different with that different note, and just then the kind of triumphant feel of that last one.
Out, man.
And again, that's just, I mean, as we all do, it's just sitting noodling away, and you find something you like, and it's having, I guess, the patience and the time to let it develop and not kind of force an idea. You know, it's. I do feel very lucky that at this stage I can take time to write songs, and you know, I don't need to just think that's a good idea, let's get it out, down and out, you know, because a song like Black Chandelier definitely took a little bit of time to develop.
Okay.
You know, even to get to the chorus. Again, it's just the wee subtle shifts in each chord, you know. Quite often the songs that are big and melodic, you know, necessarily the root notes and things maybe aren't always surprising, you know, because some things feel satisfying for a reason. So I always feel like I need to find just that one wonky note or something that just kind of holds a little longer into the next chord, and that's where I kind of, and that's when I trust my kind of goosebump. I call it my kind of goosebump meter, or the Glasgow Coma scale, if that's, I don't even know what that is. But you know, that kind of vibe. It's all just about kind of catching yourself by surprise, I guess, sometimes.
And having the confidence as well, because I'm sure there's lots of people watching this who might have, you know, written a riff or a chord change, and you immediately stop yourself because you go, oh, I've heard that before, or that's not completely original, whatever it is you tell yourself to not keep going. Do you get to a point as a songwriter where you just have the confidence to go, I'm going to persevere?
Yes. When I was first writing songs in the first couple of records, I and probably if you listen to those records, you can hear it, I didn't want to play any chord patterns that I felt like I'd heard before.
Right.
Then after a while, you realise that's... like, things work for a reason in music. Things make you feel a certain way for a reason. It's not to say you sit down and deliberately find a logical chord pattern. But see, if you land on something that feels like a little bit familiar, I think that's okay. You can twist it and things and take it into your own...
Yeah, because by the time you've played it and done your voicing of it, it could only be you.
Well, exactly. And there's a couple of songs I did a bunch of online kind of acoustic sessions at the start of lockdown. And when I was reworking a few songs and bringing them into a similar key, suddenly I realised, there's like 3 songs. I was like, they've got kind of same chord pattern, you know, and I wouldn't notice. But then when I'm working, I'm like, so why do they not sound the same? You know, and it's just these odd, the floating notes, how you then deliver, you know, never write an idea. Every idea is worth pursuing. Every idea is valid. You know, like, I don't think fear of will make you stop creating, or make you stop creating anything. You got to just let it go. Just liberate. See if you write something and after you've listened to it, you're like, oh, I'm not into that. It's too familiar. Then there's no harm done. You know, there's absolutely no harm done. But the tough part is deciding that this is what it is. You know, I've got a lot of friends that write songs, and some people are still working on that one song for like 8 months, and you're like, look, the song just needs to be what it is. You know, you can't kind of change it. Each spark of idea will take you somewhere else. And as you say, Mick, it's about not being afraid. Don't be afraid. There's no right or wrong way to do anything. The same way if you're just playing extremely atonal chords, like that's fine. It doesn't need to make sense, and it doesn't matter if it makes sense. Like, it's all about where that end destination is and how that makes you feel. And if you don't feel a certain kind of way, then that's a problem. You know, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, or it doesn't give you the goosebump, then maybe, you know, that's when to maybe move on to another idea. But don't overthink it. It's feeling. Music's about feel. It really is about feel. You know, there's plenty of time to use that, but in terms of whether an idea is worth pursuing or not, that's all in here. You know.
Sure. We are blessed that you're going to do a song for us. One thing that I've always been in awe of your songwriting. There's, you know, to write a song like Folding Stars, or to write a song like this whole last album, there's so much. You're sharing vulnerability. You're so open, and that's tough to do. You know, it's an amazing. There's a real courage just to be open.
It's weird because I first pursued that. There was an album we released called Puzzle, and my mum had passed away, and that was. I felt like I didn't have a choice at that point to really sing about what I was going through and what my family was going through. Sure. Everyone goes through horrible things in their life and at different points, but that was the first time where I really opened that channel, and I couldn't go back after that.
Right.
I felt like for me to devote my life to this as well, I want to be able to look back in songs that I wrote 10 years ago and things, and know that I was being perfectly honest about who I was, that's what I was going through.
Yeah.
It can be scary at points. I'm a bit more, believe it or not, I get a bit more scared these days because of people maybe know me a little bit more, and I'm a bit more aware, like, am I letting people into a secret? But then, what's music for? That's why I picked up my guitar. It was to communicate things that I couldn't communicate in a day-to-day life. I mean, we all have been drawn to music because it helps us communicate. You know, it helps you show a part of who you are. Sure. You know, that you can't do if you're just sitting chatting to someone. So it's a real important part of my process of dealing with my everyday life. Yeah. I feel lucky to be in that positioning. But there are some points, I've had some conversations with my wife over the years, like, saying, do you mind? And fortunately, everyone that knows me knows that that's the kind of music I make. It's not, it's honest, it's sincere music. And again, that's why the live show is so kind of visceral, because we're not pretending. It's not, there's an element of a showmanship involved because we're a rock band. Sure. But the actual music is always true and pure. It has to be.
That's what people are connecting to. And when you're at a Biffy gig and you're there singing along, and the people are, the melodies are incredible and the music and everything, but people are singing along because these songs mean something to them. Means them
I think people appreciate when you put yourself out there, because we're all parts of our lives, there's moments where you have to do that. And I think anything that makes you feel less alone, and I'm actually trying to stop talk about what my songs are about, because I've realised I don't want to take that away from people. Some people will hear a song and it applies here, and I don't want to then kind of rip that away. No, it's about this, so therefore that maybe changes their experience. So, but I feel very grateful that we've got fans and people that do care about music deeply, and fortunately care about our music deeply, and that's so important. I've always said I'd rather be 100 people's favourite band than 1,000,000 people's 10th favourite band, and I feel that we still do that, and that's because it matters. Excuse my French. That's because it matters.
Unreal. Oh, look, this has just been the most incredible experience. Thank you so much. It really means a lot, man, that you'd come on the show.
With all this business going on and everything, for you guys to make the effort, we appreciate it. And I'm sure everyone watching does as well. So thank you so much.
Thanks everyone for watching. Thank you, Mick and Dan. It means a lot to be on here with you. It really does. Thank you.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, all that stuff. Shop,
click the description down where you can find all kinds of stuff, including hopefully links to new pedals and new company and all of that.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, Simon's going to play a space off Celebration of Endings, Biffy's new album. Man, thank you so much. This has just been the most incredible day. I was so grateful. But playing us out, Simon Neil.
When we were young and still in love, we didn't care what we were made of. Our eyes were set on a distant sun. It was shimmering gold. Then slowly, one by one, we carried our past and we cradled the storm. We tried to conceal all the scars we wore, 'cause we couldn't show what we couldn't show. I get lost sometimes, with you I am found. I get lost, so I'll follow the light to your heart. Will you wait for me? There's always a space in my heart. I'm still caught in your gravity. No matter the distance between us, our joy lives in the moments we share. Love's truest meaningless when you're not there. Will you wait for me? There's always a space in my heart for you. And then the silence fell. We bit our tongues with which we tell all of our dreams and the stories we sell. But we didn't know what we didn't know. I get lost sometimes, with you I am found. I get lost, so I'll follow the light to your heart. Will you wait for me? There's always a space in my heart. I'm still caught in your gravity. No matter the distance between us, our joy lives in the moments we share. Love's truest meaningless when you're not there. Will you wait you wait for me? There's always a space in my heart. There's always a space in my heart. There's always a space in my heart. Heart. Will you wait for me? There's always a space in my heart. I'm still caught in your gravity. No matter the distance between us, our joy lives in the moments we share. Love's true is meaningless when you're not there. Will you wait for me? There's always a space in my heart for you. Thank you.
Yeah!
Thanks, guys. No pedals were used in the making of this performance.
Yeah, brother.
Thank you.
That sounded sweet. That's the first time I've heard someone else play through it. That sounds so good. That's so good.
Bless you. Thank you.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on.
He's got to do it.
All right.
Oh no, where are you?
Right, let's see.
Yeah, you want? I'll do that. You want to go back?
Yep. I'd like to announce my official retirement from playing guitar, from everything, because stick a fork in me, I am done.
I'm done. Oh, that sounds tasty. That sounds
Far out,
tasty.
man. That is unbelievable.
I can't wait till the next TPS band gig.